For some reason or another, this year the plants' tops were very short. Usually these are 8 to 15 feet tall. Some of the ones in the back are taller. It's a tuber that is low on starch, and it can be eaten raw. You just clean it and eat it raw. So what we're going to do here is, the problem with Jerusalem artichokes is you don't see them in the store very much or at all, because they have an extremely short shelf life. As soon as you dig them out of the ground, they begin to get soft because they're exposed to the oxygen. So we want to mimic the artichoke in the ground that we can have indoors, because in the middle of winter, the ground is frozen and it's like 4 degrees outside, and you're not going to be able to chisel any of these things out of the ground. So we did this last year as an experiment. We had heard other people talk about it. We're just going to take a bucket, and you can have a bucket of any size that you want, and we're going to mimic the Jerusalem artichoke in the ground. We're going to add some soil, artichokes, soil, artichokes, and soil. And then we have a stairwell that goes to our attic, which is pretty much what ambient temperature outside is. So it will get cold, but it's not really going to freeze like a block of ice, but it will mimic, winter conditions in that attic stairwell. Now, we also did this with just artichokes in a airtight zip top bag, and it worked relatively decent. We tried some in the stairwell, we put some in the crisper of the fridge. They did keep, but not as long as the ones in the bucket. Now, we had about 3 buckets of these, and I will warn you, if you don't go through all of these, as the spring begins to arrive, these artichokes in that attic stairwell began to believe it was time to grow, and they began to come out of the bucket. So we had to basically toss those because, and we replanted some of them, but they got, they started growing. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take some soil. This is just a 2.5 gallon bucket. Take some loose soil, just regular garden soil, nothing special. All we're trying to do is mimic the underground conditions. Now, if you do not know what Jerusalem artichokes look like, I'm going to dig some up here, and we will take a look and see what we got. All right, so here's what Jerusalem artichokes look like. Oh, they kind of look like, I don't know, I like a ginger. But they don't taste like ginger at all. That's a very nice, good cluster of Jerusalem artichokes. And you can see that you just bust them down, and they'll break apart, and you can eat them. The longer they stay in the ground, the less chance of them causing you to have gas. So you want to be very cautious of how many you may eat at one time until you understand how they react, your body reacts to them. You can also make sunchoke hash browns. And we've done that, worked very well. We did add a little more salt than what was recommended, but it worked out really nice. So if you're going to harvest these just as is and take them in, you want to do maybe enough for 2 or 3 days, because they will go bad very, very quickly. And going bad meaning they will just shrivel up to nothing in a matter of just a few days. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to bust these off of this root cluster here, and just layer them in there. Now, for example, that's all one right there. Now, these will come back year after year. These are they can be considered invasive. Wherever you decide to plant these in your garden, that's where they're going to be permanently. You can also put these in a container and grow them, and have them, very isolated, or a raised bed. Now, these have not spread any more than what we have put them in 3 years ago. We have never made it through this entire patch of harvesting them in a given fall. So keep that in mind. A little will go a long way. Now, this one is on the soft side, so I'm not even going to put that in the bucket. These two are firm. I want to get good, healthy ones in this bucket, and then I'm going to cover them with dirt. Now, we've had artichokes that were the size of baseballs that we've dug out of the ground. It appears this year is going to be a very small size harvest for whatever reason. So now that we've got one layer there, I'm going to take some more soil, try to keep the weeds, rocks, and sticks to a minimum, and I'm just going to cover the top until I can't see them no more, and then go and then repeat the process until the bucket's full.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.